let me ask you to keep your mics muted during the presentation. It is my request. Or I find that there is an option to mute all, because if we do not do that, I see we are all at different places now, and we are connected. We are at home, and there are other people also at home. So we can't ask them to not do what they have to do. So I'll try to mute all, and we'll go ahead with the presentation. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to focus and deliver, and it will not be useful to everyone, because others there might be other people who are trying to listen, and the noise might disturb everyone. So, and um, and also during the presentation, you might want to ask questions. So again, as we will remain muted throughout the presentation, I'd ask you all to ask the questions. Keep all your questions, and ask all the questions as and when you have those questions on the chat. So once you ask all the questions, we will collect all those questions, and then we are in the process of making a PPT, a PDF with next steps, where you can work on the next, how to go about uh, uh, building on what we have discussed today. So we'll be answering all your questions in that PDF. Take all the questions, plus we'll give some pointers on how to improve emotional intelligence, right? So with that, I'll start the presentation. So shall I go ahead, sir?
Yeah, sure, sir, sure.
Right. So I'm muting one and all, because there is no other go other than that.
Sure, sir, sure.
So let me share my screen. Is my screen visible to everyone? Can you see a slide which says how to live a life by design and not by default? Right. I believe you can. Sorry, I have muted you. So let us start now. So friends, how are you all feeling today? Are you feeling happy, energetic, focused, and ready to make use of this webinar? Or there is corona in the air, you are not able to go out, and you are not able to meet your friends. So are you worried? Are you feeling anxious, sleepy, or lazy? Let me tell you how I feel. I feel excited, and I'm thankful for this opportunity to talk to you. I thank Professor Chandrabal Dangi and SART Bhopal, the students who have joined us, and the professors also who have joined us on this call. I'm eager to bring this topic to you that could change the way you see yourself, that could change the way you see the world around you and everyone else around you, and can really change the way you go about reaching your goals in life and pursuing those goals. So the topic for today is how to lead a life by design and not by default. Now, emotional intelligence is an absolutely critical skill. We have more than 400 emotional experiences every day. And whether we are aware of these emotional experiences or not, they can really dictate how our day goes. So to use emotional intelligence is to be engaged with yourself at a deeper level. As you become better at emotional intelligence, you can also use this skill to design a life of your choice and not have life happening to you. Now, this is a vast topic. People have spent entire careers researching about it. Universities have spent considerable effort in expanding the knowledge, and industry continues to spend a lot of money to train their employees on emotional intelligence for improving their performance. So let us utilize the next 50 to 55 minutes understanding emotional intelligence. Now, I am not an expert on emotional intelligence. You students can consider me as someone who is a bit ahead of you in life experience and someone who has made enough mistakes and learned lessons from it. You can consider me as your senior talking to you. I'm also someone who is constantly and relentlessly working on self improvement. And that is my credibility to give this talk. So, what is this session about? This session is about one, understanding what emotional intelligence is and why it is important to us, knowing the dimensions or the skills of emotional intelligence, and learning some practical ways to improve emotional intelligence. I'm hoping that by the end of the session, you would have developed an active interest in improving your lives by committing to work on your emotional intelligence skills. And that would be the biggest takeaway from this session. So it is said, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So how about a video then? Let us quickly watch a video. So this is a video that the police department in Kerala put out about 2.5 months back when Corona started spreading. It shows men in full uniform dancing away to some funky tribal folk music with steps on how to wash hands. Seeing this video, some may have thought it silly, others may have thought it funny. But the fact is that it got public's attention. It was circulated on WhatsApp, and even now, if you type Kerala Police on YouTube, this is one of the first pop-up suggestions. Seeing this, a lot of similar users created videos also started appearing in social media. It did engage the public. And even when I wash hands at home, this funny video sometimes come to my mind and brings a smile to my face. Now compare this video to the pre-recorded message we hear regularly when we try to call someone on their mobile. How do you feel when you hear this monotonous voice telling us to wear mask and wash our hands? Does it engage us? I keep my receiver away from from my face till that message is through because it gets irritating beyond a point. Now, which way of communicating do you think will have better recall and will produce better hand washing compliance? We may all consider ourselves very logical in our approach to situations. But the fact is that we are ruled by emotions. And knowing how to make use of your positive emotions and keeping the negative ones in check can make a lot of difference in our lives. Now, what is emotional intelligence? In any given situation, knowing what you are feeling as you are feeling it and knowing what others are feeling and using that information to respond to situations. That is emotional intelligence. A fundamental part of being emotionally intelligent is knowing who you are, and the rest of the skills develops from there. Normally, the skills of EI or emotional intelligence is grouped under soft skills. they are not very logical. They can't really be explained. We can't really explain emotions very well. No test or instrument has been identified that can measure EI accurately. But the fundamentals of emotional intelligence is grounded in neuroscience, and knowing how our brain works will help us better appreciate and manage ourselves. Let us now quickly go through two definitions of emotional intelligence. The first one, your ability to identify your own emotions and the emotions of other people, and then use this understanding to guide your behavior, to adapt to your environment and achieve your goals. That is one definition. Another one is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express your emotions and to handle interpersonal relationships effectively. That is also emotional intelligence. Now imagine we have been called upon to give a talk in front of an audience. Some seem to manage it with ease, but most people have an immediate reaction as if they have been punched hard in the stomach, or they feel lightheaded. They freeze. Why do you think this is? So it has got to do with how our brain is structured. The triune brain theory. The triune brain theory is a simplistic but fairly reliable theory to explain how the different parts of the brain communicate with each other. So every experience, everything that you experience in the world around you must enter, if you are seeing on the screen, must enter at the base of your brain. So as you listen to me speak, the signal travels from your ear to the base of the brain. Someone touches you, the same thing happens. The signal goes from the skin and enters through the base of the brain. The same happens when you are suddenly asked to give a talk. Now, once the signal enters the brain, it travels across the brain. So the signal travels across the brain, and as it does, it travels through the limbic region. This is the limbic region. That is the emotional or feeling brain. This is where emotions are generated. This is also the part of the brain that controls our immediate response to a perceived danger. That is something that some danger that you are expecting. So this part of the brain only handles. Now there is also this other part of the brain called the neocortex, or our thinking brain. This neocortex is the latest addition to our brains in its evolution over the human history. Neocortex, or neo means new, and cortex is the region of the brain. So this is the new brain, which is the thinking or the rational brain. Which this rational brain, in the rational brain, the capacity to learn, to be aware of and control and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships well, comes when we consciously engage this part of the brain. This part of the brain is what we want to engage when we want to be emotionally intelligent. Normally, these two parts of the brain, the neocortex and the limbic system, work together in tandem. But that is, emotional information passes from the limbic system, and neocortex uses the information to make rational decisions on how to respond. These two systems also have the ability to act on their own, and the limbic system is activated instantly compared to the neocortex. So when there is a stressful situation, the limbic system responds instantly, and we experience what is called an emotional hijack. And that is why we freeze. Now consider someone has raised a hand. I'd request Ms. Veena to respond through chat. Sandeep Kumar Prajapati has raised his hand. So Ms. Veena, please respond to him through chat. Sir, please raise your question through chat. Right. So now consider our ancient ancestors. If they suddenly came across a tiger in the jungle, their reaction would be to freeze or to run as fast as they could. Or if no other go, then they will fight the tiger. Similarly, if we are suddenly called upon to speak in front of a gathering, the same brain circuitry, the limbic system, gets activated. And that system does not know the difference between being called up on the stage to speak or a tiger acting in front of us, or a tiger appearing in front of us rather. But when we are giving a talk in front of a group, we want our thinking brain to function in such circumstances and think of ways to calm ourselves down. Of course, these differences are not visible to us in our day-to-day life. But as engineers, understanding and knowing how our system is structured, we can appreciate the functions of each part and think of ways to optimize our system, like how we manage our systems, to optimize our systems and to achieve our goals. Knowing this, how our brain functions helps us understand how to manage manage our emotions better and thereby become emotionally intelligent. Now, this is also the same brain represented in a different way. So you see neocortex and the limbic system, and this is the brain stem. And the emotional brain is the limbic system, and the thinking brain is our neocortex. So that this we looked at. Now, the dimensions or the skills of emotional intelligence. Daniel Goleman, in his book Emotional Intelligence, divided emotional intelligence into two sets of skills. Skills relating to ourselves and skills relating to others. So on the right, we have a set of skills which are the self skills, that is self-awareness and self-regulation or self-management. So as we get better at the self skills, our ability to improve on the other skills increase. So on the right, on the left, you have the other skills, which is motivation, empathy, and social skills. So self-awareness is the ability to recognize and understand our emotions and our moods and their effects on others. So you can see the person is looking at himself objectively. That is self-awareness. So the parts of self-awareness or the skills required are self-confidence, the ability to self-assess, and a sense of humor. Similarly, for self-management, it is the ability to control disruptive emotions and impulses and to suspend the judgment before we think. And the components are trustworthy, integrity, and openness. Motivation is a passion to work beyond money or status. And again, motivation, those people who are motivated show optimism, commitment, and orientation to results. Empathy is understanding the emotional makeup of other people and treating them accordingly. Now, people who are empathetic, they like to develop other people. They like to nurture talent. They have cross-cultural sensitivity, and they are service-oriented. Social skills is the ability to find common ground and build relationships. So in social skills, you have leadership, influence, persuasiveness. Just a second, let me drink some water. Persuasiveness and team capabilities. We'll look at each of these now. So self-awareness. Self-awareness is knowing our feelings and thoughts, our likes and dislikes, our strengths and weaknesses, and abilities, and our gut feeling. Now look at this picture. If each jigsaw puzzle piece here inside that person's head is a thought or a feeling, we have to look at each one closely to understand what it is before responding. And that is what our neocortex does for us. Now the skills required for self-awareness are emotional awareness, accurate self-assessment, and self-confidence. Listen to this story now. A samurais are Japanese warriors, once challenged a Zen master to explain the concept of heaven and hell. Without even looking up to acknowledge the samurai, the monk replied with scorn, "You are nothing, you are just a useless street fighter. I can't waste my time with people like you." These samurais are very proud people, and this insulting reply got the samurai wild with anger. He pulled out his sword and yelled at the monk, "I will kill you for insulting me." The monk calmly replied, "This, your reaction, is what is hell." This calm reaction was unexpected, and the samurai understood what the monk was trying to tell him. He calmed down, put down his sword, and bowed before the monk. And the monk said, This is heaven." So, what can we learn from the story? In the initial part of the story, the samurai got carried away by his emotions. He was not emotionally aware. In fact, he had an emotional hijack. The limbic system that we talked about earlier took control before the neocortex could think and respond. Later on, when the monk wisely showed how his reaction was what was hell, the monk was actually clearly pointing it to him, to the samurai, that samurai has to develop emotional awareness. When the truth was pointed out to the samurai, he was able to self-assess. So he was able to self-assess his emotional state, and that is engage his thinking brain, the neocortex, and respond appropriately. The monk, who was a self-aware being and knew his strengths and weaknesses, was also self-confident in his abilities. So emotionally aware people know what their emotions are, what they are feeling, and why. They understand the link between what they think, feel, and say, and also do. They understand how their feelings affect the performance. And people with accurate self-assessment skills, that is looking at yourself objectively, they are aware of their strengths and weaknesses. They are reflective, and they are willing to learn from experiences. They are open to feedback from others. They are into continuous learning and self-development. They are also able to show a sense of humor about themselves. Now, self-confidence is the courage that comes from knowing your capabilities and your values. People with self-confidence have what is called as presence. So when you meet a self-confident person, you know from their body language, their words, how they handle themselves. They can voice views which are unpopular, and they stand their ground, and they go by their values. They are not afraid and sit back thinking, oh, what will happen if I speak up, or will people laugh at me? Because they are confident in what they are saying. So let us now look at the next skill of emotional intelligence now. By the way, we will be looking at how to improve each of these skills later on in the later part of the presentation. Before that, as I was saying earlier, before moving on to the next skill, emotional skill, we have thoughts, our behaviors, and emotions. So what we think affects how we act and feel. Our thoughts affect our behavior and our emotions. What we feel affects how we think and do. So our emotions, how we feel, affect our thoughts and our behavior. And their behavior affects what we do, affects how we think and feel. So this is a cycle, and knowing this will help us be more emotionally aware. Okay, so the next skill is self-management, managing emotional impulses and resources. Resources are our capabilities. So you see a kid in the picture. He has a cookie jar before him. He is looking longingly at the cookies. He has been told by his parents not to take any more cookies, as he has already had too many of them. That we may see on the slide. Each of us has many of us throughout the day. They are cookie jars of distraction, like social media. That is, we are parents, that is our own parents, so that we do not have one too many and get distracted from our goals. So the skills under self management are self control, trustworthiness, conscientiousness, and adaptability. Self control is keeping the negative, disruptive emotions and impulses in check. For example, many of us have gone on a diet at one time or the other. We decided not to snack in between meals. But the moment we see that cookie jar in front of us, the impulse to reach out and get one is there. This is our limbic system in action. It does not wait for the neocortex to process the situation and tell us that, look, you have made a decision to diet and you should not take that cookie. So that is self-control. That is not having self-control. Trustworthiness. Trustworthiness is maintaining standards of honesty and integrity. Trustworthiness is our credibility. If we are trustworthy, opportunities will come to us. We will be valued by others. Next one is being conscientious, taking responsibility for personal performance. When we are committed to a project, no matter what, we should try to finish it. Adaptability is the flexibility in handling change. Some people are so averse to change that they struggle with when the situation changes. They crave for stability and may even sort of that stability. We know that truth is the only constant. I mean, change is the only constant. We know the truth that change is the only constant. Now with COVID-19, many industries have suffered. Yet there are also stories of people who are starting businesses and using the situation to their advantage. That is adaptability. Let us look at the next skill, which is now we are looked at the two self skills. Now we can initial skills. The first one of those is motivation. Let me just have a gulp of water. Right. Motivation, the emotional tendencies that guide or make it easier for reaching goals is motivation. So there is this man in the picture. He seemed to have set a goal, a standard of excellence. Or rather, he has a goal in sight, and he has to walk down that white line to reach that goal. Let us see what skills he needs on the way to reach his goal. The first skill he needs is achievement drive. Achievement drive is striving to improve or meet a standard of excellence. That is, keeping very high goals and pushing yourself to reach them. That feeling that I want to win this marathon, or I want to win this, I want to be the first in the exam. So keeping such goals and pushing yourself to get there, that is achievement drive. Commitment. Aligning with the goals of the group or the organization is commitment. At the workplace, a deadline to finish a project may be set. Aligning ourselves with the organization's goals shows commitment. Initiative. Readiness to act on opportunities. Now, we are facing uncertain times. We have no idea when Corona will leave us. Economies are facing a slowdown. Jobs are being lost. In such a scenario, can we expect to be hired? Yes, it will be tough, but those who show initiative always have been and will be rewarded. As engineering students, we have an opportunity to create projects and create a portfolio of our work. This is very important. When you look for a job or reach out to an employer, show your work to them. There is a very good chance that you will not only be hired, but you will also get an above average pay. Employers simply love initiative. Optimism. Persistence in pursuing goals despite obstacles or setbacks that you might suffer, that is optimism. Carrying on despite or in spite of obstacles and roadblocks. Nothing of substantial value has been achieved very easily. So we must push ourselves and keep going with optimism in the face of roadblocks. Every new year, many people go on diets and join gyms. at the end of January, you go to that gym, the gyms will have only the regular people. They will only be there. Why? When the aches and pains set in from starting exercise, the determination to exercise vanishes. We must push through and visualize the end goal and move with optimism. So the next others skill, which is empathy. Empathy is the awareness of others' feelings, needs, and concerns. What is popularly called as seeing from the other person's point of view or being in the other person's shoes. So the slide here shows one person's hand in another's. This is a gesture for showing care and concern. But for now, we'll refrain from doing this. Corona time, okay, namaste would be much better. So the skills there are, I digress. The skills there are understanding others, developing others, service orientation, and political awareness. Understanding others is sensing others' feelings and perspective and taking an active interest in their concerns. Man is a social animal. To be successful in life, the cooperation of other people is crucial. So we must invest time in understanding others. Developing others is sensing others' development needs and helping them improve their abilities. This is something that managers or leaders do as part of their jobs. But we can also do this for our friends and family. Understand their weakness and help them improve. Service orientation. Service orientation is anticipating, recognizing, and meeting customer needs. There is a difference between having a coffee at Coffee Day or Starbucks and a regular coffee shop. And it is not just the coffee. We pay for the service. Some people are natural at it. Like when there is a impromptu meeting being organized. We can find some who are arranging chairs, holding open the doors, and setting up the system. They haven't been asked to do this. They're naturally service oriented. So that is an example of service orientation. Political awareness. Reading a group's emotional setup, emotional and power relationship between members. That is political awareness. Now imagine you're walking into an interview situation. We can gauge the body language of who the boss is. We can recognize key members from the way they are seated by reading their body language. Is the interview going to be a stress interview, or are they in a good mood? Are they inviting you for a discussion, or are they going to be stern with you? We can gauge all that. We can know these by being aware of the dynamics that is there between the members of the groups. Social skills. It is nothing but interacting effectively with others. Skill of inducing desirable responses in others. So the set of social skills are there below. Influence, communication, team capabilities, conflict management, leadership, collaboration, cooperation. We'll look at each of those. Influence is wielding effective tactics for persuasion. You may have read this book called Tom Sawyer, which was Mark Twain's classic children's book. In that, there is a part where Tom is asked by his aunt to paint the fence. He did not like that job, so he persuaded his friends to do the job for him. He used persuasion skills. He told them how it is good, how he enjoys it that much, and he was telling that he'll give opportunity. This is a golden opportunity for you to do this, and he collected gifts in return for it. The corporate world is full of Tom Sawyers, but it is not wrong. Do you think it is wrong to use influence? Not necessarily. Often we do not do what is good for us, even if we know that it is good for us. So using influence to manage performance is appropriate. Recently, we saw PM Modi influencing the country to stand as one in the face of Corona. The Diya Jalana campaign and the Talib Bajana initiative were all ways of influencing us as citizens to stand together against this fight against COVID. Now, communication. Listening openly and sending convincing messages. Leaders and managers at all levels have to be especially good at communication, because the success of many other people depend on how the mission is communicated to the team. Conflict management. It is negotiating and resolving disagreements. As one moves up in the corporate setup, this is a very key skill. Even within friend circle, those who can manage conflicts are always called upon in case of any fights. Leadership, inspiring and guiding individuals and groups. Leadership is especially tested during times of war and like when you have a disease like now that we have. We can see how countries with strong political leadership were able to manage the COVID situations better. At the same time, there were several other developed countries that have faltered due to lack of leadership. Now, collaboration and cooperation. It is just working with others towards shared goals, team capabilities, creating group environment in pursuing collective goals. A team is made up of individuals of different temperaments, skills, and backgrounds. To achieve goals, team skills have to be used optimally. To get groups of people to gel together as one and work as one, we find companies conducting team outings and official retreats so that the members get to know each other in an informal setting and they form stronger bonds with each other. We have now seen the dimensions or the skills of emotional intelligence, the 5 skills of emotional intelligence. Now let us look at the differences between EQ and IQ, the intelligence quotient and emotional quotient or emotional intelligence. So IQ helps you get in the door. IQ is required to pass exams. It is a threshold skill. That is, you need a certain IQ to survive education. But once you clear the exam, to get a job and to excel at our jobs, we need to be good at EQ. In fact, some studies indicate that as much as 90% of career success depends on having good EQ, on how you get along with people. So IQ is trying to convince someone by the facts. Many times we find that the political leadership in a country may have taken a decision or a company may have brought in some new change. For example, a new project or a factory may be given permission to be set up. They may have got all the permissions and the fact may be that it will bring jobs to the area where the unit is planted. But unless the people in the area are also taken into confidence by the administration, by talking and by convincing them through reasoning, the project has a chance of being stalled. There are several projects we know of which have where that have happened. So that is and on being on the mercy of emotions when you don't understand them. So in this case, the image of this brilliant, socially awkward scientist played by Robbie Williams in Flubber, the movie, the Hollywood movie, comes to mind. So he's very high in EQ, but he's absolutely bad in social skills. And how it creates comic situations. If you have seen the movie, you will understand how IQ alone is not sufficient. So being book smart and being heart smart. Being book smart, you can think of Chatur in Three Idiots, the movie. So he's someone who is always with the books, who is always studying, only IQ oriented, but the kind of how that affects him, it is obvious in the movie itself. Now, IQ gets you through school, EQ gets you through life. School and college are the only places in life where we are relatively shielded from the real world. Life throws challenges at us once we are out of here. To get through successfully in life, EQ is crucial. Many times we come across people who are simply not able to handle situations, the pressures of life, and even decide to end their lives. So, with this understanding, what do you think is more important, EQ or IQ? Let us see. The whole iceberg. We see an iceberg floating in the sea in this picture. A part of the iceberg is above water, is jutting out of the water, and the rest is submerged. We focus more on the part that is jutting out, that is our IQ in school and college. That is what we are focused on. EQ is a submerged part. The underlying competencies like self-awareness, self-management, motivation, empathy, and social skills. So, is EQ important or is IQ? The iceberg does not float with just the part that is above water. That is the white part that is above water alone does not float. The whole iceberg includes the part that is under the water also. So for balanced performance and decision making, we need both IQ and EQ in different proportions all throughout our lives, which is what is there in the next screen. A full-fledged human being will have IQ and EQ, and that will bring about success. So why emotional intelligence matters? We see two kids in this picture. They are playing with building blocks with emojis and math symbols. We have seen that EQ and IQ both are necessary for success. So we should now start collecting some emoji cubes as well as some maths and science ones which we are already collecting. We'll see why. As students now and at the workplace soon. So the first four here in green that is highlighted, your health, your time, your initiative, and your relationships are important aspects all throughout your life. As students, this is the best time to develop your emotional skills. You can invest your time, how much initiative you show, how much you focus on physical, mental health, and how you develop and invest in relationship will greatly influence you later in life. Most of us look at developing emotional skills only much later in life. Once we have encountered some failures, we have taken some knocks in life, that is when we think, okay, we need some emotional intelligence also. And I'm not talking about just failure in exams. Life throws bigger challenges. The professors attending this session will agree to me that even they would have started working seriously on emotional skills once they have faced tough situations in life. And once you are in the workplace, companies place a lot of importance on EI. Why? Because successful completion of projects require people to work together with each other in teams. Engineers have to work with others. Communication is absolutely critical for engineers. Unlike scientists, engineers generally are not individual performance. Even at the junior level, where you may be responsible for only a small module of the project, your effectiveness and the success of the project will depend on how clearly you are able to understand and communicate. So recruiters will focus on your communication skills a lot. We have to pitch and defend ideas. You will be called upon to give ideas, and there will be competing ideas in contention as well. So we'll have to be able to defend our ideas. That requires good communication skills. Having a strong ability to read the emotions of others and being aware of your own emotions is key to your success. Sometimes there is bound to be conflict when four people come together from different backgrounds under constraints of time and money. Like in a workplace, there are going to be conflicts. We must be able to control ourselves and use effective conflict resolution strategies to resolve situations. Now the important question is, can emotional intelligence be improved? Research indicates that IQ stabilizes by the age of 10. So it says that by this age of 10, your IQ is almost fixed. It remains more or less fixed after that. But EQ can be improved by working on it. So yes, first you should study yourself. Understand your emotional triggers. What is called as the hot buttons, or what are the emotional issues that can trigger you into a negative sort of environment, as well as what drives and motivates you. That helps you understand how your emotions and behaviors, just a moment, affect other people. By understanding ourselves better, we can begin to understand other people better as well. But improving your EI does not come easily or instantly. It usually takes time to practice. You have to seek feedback from yourself and others, and you have to keep working on it. This is a lifelong commitment. Now, we will see, we have seen the differences between IQ and EQ and how it is useful to us, and that it can also be improved upon. Now we will see how to improve emotional intelligence. The different aspects that we have seen, the self and the others, how to improve them. Building self-awareness. The first three activities listed there in green: daily reflection, keeping a journal, and getting feedback helps build perspective. Daily reflection can be done at the end of the day. Before going to bed, spend a few minutes thinking about the day that has passed by. How was the day? Did you do all that you plan to do? How was your interaction with other people? Look at how you handle the situation, different situations that happened during the day. How did you handle them? How could you have done better? Think about recurring thoughts during the day, ideas and feelings that you might be. Keeping a journal. A journal is one step. It is one step above, just a moment, above daily reflection. You can note down the same aspects as in the daily reflection in a journal. Getting feedback. How will your friends describe you? Your strengths and weaknesses. Getting feedbacks builds better perspective in how you see yourself and the world around you. It is not required that you do all of these. You work on some aspects, take and see what you like and work on them. Write down your goals, plans, and priorities. Maintain a to-do list. We know all this, but are we doing it? That is the question. Understand your strengths and weaknesses. There are several online resources like there is something called a strengths finder tool where you are asked questions and as you answer to them, the answer based on the answer, you will be given an understanding of your strengths and weaknesses. Know your personality. There is Myers-Briggs test. Then there is emotional intelligence tools like EQ, I2, and other online tools. I'll give you a list of them at the end in the booklet that I told you about. And as your questions will be answered, all your questions will be answered. I believe that you are using the chat and you are giving your questions. Ms. Veena is actually collecting them and we'll respond to your questions. Along with that, we'll also give you a list of EQ and how to proceed from here, how to build and improve your skills. We just don't want to leave you here with this one presentation. So most of these tests that we just talked about, they are multiple choice tests with you having to answer subjective questions on your thoughts and feelings. What is important is that we not take the results from this test or the score that you get literally as an IQ test. Rather, you should engage with that result. You should evaluate and question the results. That way, you would be able to understand more about yourself. There is a colorful wheel out here. The wheel of emotions. English language has 400 plus words to describe emotions. When someone says or asks us how we are generally, we say we are fine, we are okay, we are good. We are okay, nice, fine. Knowing the vocabulary for emotions matters. Having a good vocabulary of emotions ensures that we are able to label our emotions properly, and this aids in building self-awareness. And the vocabulary need not just be in English. Hindi mein hai to Hindi mein, or any other language also, whatever be your mother tongue, in that language. Consider aggressiveness. Here in that, here you have one. Let us consider aggressiveness. Now there are different degrees to it. There is at the outer is we are merely annoyed, and then there is anger, and then there is absolute rage. So there are various degrees to it. So knowing that different words, we will be able to label our own emotions better, and that helps in understanding ourselves and approach just rather than just one term for it. Know the different words. Also, let us see love. There is serenity, joy, and ecstasy. Again, these are different scales of the same emotion. So these online tests, some of them are free, some of them are paid. I'll share them with you. So you can also actually engage in evaluating, understanding yourself better. So these are the free ones are rather takes 10 minutes to half an hour, and it will give you some feedback which you can work on. So becoming better at self-management. we might take another 10 minutes, I believe, maximum. So we can keep going, I think. Let me just go ahead with becoming better at self-management. To become better at self-management, you have to take action in spite of how you feel. So you may be feeling low emotionally after a failure. You may not feel confident. Self management being means living a life by design and not by default. And this is also the title of our talk today. That is, living a life by design and not by default. I know someone personally who just sleeps off. He switches off everything and he goes to sleep. Then he does not attend to his work. So we should not be like that. How we can be better at self management, we look at. We should act in accordance to our considered thoughts and not our immediate feelings. That is, using our thinking brain, the neocortex that we talked about earlier, more effectively. And we can become better at self management through one, meditation. There are several apps in the market that help you build meditation practice. It is surprisingly easy to use these apps. I have been using one that is called Headspace for the last 2 years. Or you could start by using any of the freely available guided meditations on YouTube. Most types of meditations work by making the thinking brain, the neocortex, stronger and able to respond and act in case of any stressors that we have already identified through self-awareness exercises. Avoid multitasking. In today's world, where we are called to do multiple things simultaneously, we may not always be possible to stop. It may not always be possible. So right now, even now, right now, we'll have get calls. There'll be someone at home asking us something. Though we are in a meeting, we get called from different people for different tasks. So it may not, given the current situation, not be possible to stop multitasking altogether. A method used by many overachievers is to divide their time into 10-minute slots and focus on only one task during that time. So you allot 10 minutes and work on one thing. So that way, one can get many things done throughout the day and at the same time not get distracted by every single thing that is happening around us. Some that is there for avoiding procrastination. That is not acting on small things that you want to act. It is a very simple rule. If something takes 2 minutes to complete, then do it now. It will make the most of your time. And while avoiding everyday procrastination habits. While a 2-minute task could seem small or meaningless, checking these things off from your to-do list, getting those small things off your list which you have been avoiding to do, not starting, but which will only take 2 minutes to complete, is a good confidence builder. Being efficient with your time is the most even a most significant can snowball into significant accomplishments later on. Be more productive by creating good habits and rejecting bad ones. This is very important. Good habits energize you and build momentum by creating positive cycles. Bad habits sap your energy, they drain you. So start an exercise habit or start waking up early in the morning. And as you create good habits, you will notice that some of the bad habits drops off automatically. Becoming better at motivation. At times we might have some motivational slumps. We might have some triggers, and then we find it very effortful to get out of a negative phase. Sometimes it is like a continuous cycle. We are motivated for a period of time, then we fall out, and then we have to build back up again. Few things you can work on to become better at motivation. One is developing the right attitude. You can't choose your circumstances, but you can choose your attitude towards your circumstances. Once you start working sincerely on your motivation, particularly on your self-awareness and self-management skills, your initial self skills, you will find that the right attitude kicks in by itself. Your attitude will also improve once you start working on yourself. Keep motivators around you at your workplace. Motivators are things that give you that initial spark to get going. It can be a family photo or your role model's pic or a poster of some motivational quote. It could also be a vision statement that you have written down on a paper. Anything that gets you started. I have a vision statement in front of me. That vision statement is to become a better around you, that you spend time with. So it is surprisingly easy to connect with your role models through social media. You just send out a friend request. So most of these people are positive energy, and they connect easily with others, so they'll accept. And I from my personal experience have found that social media, positive and motivated people are very different from negative ones. They help you grow and see opportunities during tough times. Keep learning, read biographies of great people, and read self-development books. The challenges we are facing with motivation, these are not our challenges alone. All these challenges have been faced by great men. So they have worked on it, and they might have written and given good, excellent accounts of how to counter that. So read and understand and employ that in your life. See the good in bad. Even during challenging times like that we are facing now, we should see the positive in that. In that way, we can even get ahead in negative situations. Like how I said, now is a time you can work on projects as students, and you can have your own portfolio of projects that you have worked on and show it to your employers, or reach out to employers and show them this is the work that I have done. So here you are seeing the good in bad. How to be more empathetic. Empathy builds trust. It is a key component of conflict resolution. When we are able to see a situation from other person's point of view, we are able to better appreciate their thoughts and their process of thinking, and we are more willing to arrive at compromises. How do you do that? You listen, pay undivided attention, put that mobile away, don't be restless, use empathetic language. Things like, I am sorry that this has happened to you, I understand how you feel, I don't blame you for the way you are feeling. But all these has to come naturally, and you don't have to be insincere about it. Don't be judgmental. Often we are quick to judge people based on our values. We should avoid doing that. Practice curiosity about others. Be interested rather than interesting. Seek to understand before trying to understand. Challenge your prejudices. Prejudice is a preconceived opinion that you may have based on recent or actual some experience of yours. People, like for example, people from this place are lazy, or people are generally dishonest. So question such thoughts that you hold. Look for commonalities instead of differences. When we look for commonalities, common things that we share, we automatically are more in tune with the world, with their world, that is with the other people. And that can be a starting point for understanding someone. Right. We have only another 5 minutes. We will be quick in finishing this now. Please bear with me. How to improve social skills? Our success in life is also depend on the cooperation of others around us. So it is important that we work to improve our social skills. Like we said earlier, listening attentively is important. Many of us do not listen with the intention to understand. We listen with the intention to reply. So as people are talking, we are thinking of the next point to talk of. Don't multitask. Avoid multitasking again, as we did see some in the earlier slide. Use open-ended questions. If you want to get, if you want the attention of you in the conversation, you have to ask open-ended questions like, how are you feeling, rather than, are you feeling like this? Behave like a social person. Some of us might be introverts, but that does not mean that we should not go through life being a loner. So if we behave like social people, we eventually gain those aspects of being social, and it helps improve social skills. Don't compare your experiences with others. Everyone is unique, and it is better that we don't compare ourselves with others. Okay, so this is the last slide that we are at. Maya Angelou. She was an acclaimed American poet, a storyteller, and an activist. What she says is so true. I have learned that people will forget the way what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Imagine the world we are living in. If every one of us was emotionally intelligent, what do you think would change? Being emotionally intelligent means knowing and understanding yourselves. It lets you make better decisions. It would spare you from emotional suffering because you will know where your feelings are coming from and how to handle them. It would help us deal with interpersonal relationships as we are able to connect with people at a deeper level. So, friends, I invite you on a journey where you design your life using the principles of emotional intelligence and attain greater success in life. And with this, I conclude the presentation. Neeti is asking a question. Ms. Veena will respond to her. We'll just quickly unmute also, just a minute. And with this, I'll conclude the presentation. I hope it was an informative session and you have benefited. I thank the organizers once again wholeheartedly for this opportunity to talk to you. My contact details are in this slide. I'd love if you connect to me and give me feedback. Miss Veena's number is also there. My Facebook is also mentioned. So I'd like to have some feedback on how we can. Just a moment, let me unmute and.
Hello.
Yeah.
If hello participant, if anyone has questions, then you can ask to the expert. You can write in the chat box, and Bina ma'am will be conveyed to the experts. Sir.
Whatever questions you have, you can. It will be. You can actually type in. We are preparing something for you. Post this. We'll not just leave it here. We want you to start working on your emotional skills. So we'll create a PDF and share with you, which will be a starting point, which you can use. Just a moment. Which
Sure, sir.
you can use to improve. I'm looking for the meeting controls. Yeah. So I am done with the presentation. Ms. Veena, is there something that you want to add?
Ma'am, kindly unmute. Bina ma'am, please unmute your mic.
I might have muted, so I might have to unmute myself. Let me just check where it is.
I have done. I have done.
Thank you everyone for attending this session. I hope it was informative and fruitful. EI is something that is quite into a different scenario if we go for the technical aspect, and maybe there would be many students who might have got into a non-interesting zone due to the entire biological terms that have been used. But still, there are many questions that have been raised, and I hope that I have given proper answers to it. Still, whatever questions are coming into your mind, we have already specified the contact details and the email IDs. We are very well connected with all of you at any moment of time, and you can raise the questions whenever you want. Jane sir, thank you so much
Okay,
for
ma'am.
the organizing such a wonderful webinar, and
Sure, ma'am.
all the professors, thank you so much for attending it.
So now, thank you so much, Menon sir, for delivering the excellent session. Now, I would like to thank you to our CMD sir, EDM, BCM sir, and all seniors who given us this opportunity. I would also like to thank you all the participants for actively participation of this session. I would also thank to Bina ma'am and CP Dangi sir for helping us the coordination of this session. And thank you for all. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good day.
Good day, sir. Good day. Thank you so much, sir. Please.